Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So my name's Katie and today I'm going to be doing my favourite autumnal books, or books to read for autumn or fall if you're American. So there's a certain kind of book that I really like to read in like autumn, and like kind of outside when the like wind's blowing and the like leaves are changing colours and you just want to get all like cozy. And I just feel like there's a certain kind of story, like the really like atmospheric type stories I feel like are great for autumn. I'm just going to recommend a few of my favourites here. And I also feel like kind of the like folklore-y type folk tales or tales with a lot of lore in, quite good for autumn as well. So yeah. So the first one is a new favourite series of mine, so obviously I have to plug it. And that's the Rune of Kings by Jen Lyons. And I feel like this is quite an autumnal book, just in terms of like the sort of overall like vibes. I guess it's quite like epic, and I feel like autumn's quite a good time just for like sinking your teeth into a big chunky series. And just the sort of characters, I don't know why I feel like the characters scream autumn to me, but they kind of do. And just the like general sort of setting of the book. And we're kind of following, in the first one, we're following Kieran and he's kind of telling his story, and I feel like the telling of a story feels quite autumnal. I don't know, you're just sitting around the fire and like someone's telling you a story. And yes, it's great. So what the book's about, so we're following Kieran and he is in jail at the start of the book telling his story to his jailer, and we're following him on two different timelines. So the first one is when he's young and small and he sort of gets taken in by this big powerful family because apparently he's like a lost heir. And then in the other timeline, Kieran is, when he's older, he's being sold as a slave and he gets like bought by this Black Dagger Brotherhood, who's like this mysterious thing, like society, and then gets taken away to this like magical island. And then various like politics and like shenanigans and stuff ensue in both timelines, and there's a lot of like characters who are kind of in both, but you don't always realise who's who at first. And also there's this like soul swapping which goes on, which I think is a bit confusing to a lot of people, but especially like once you get fully into the series, I think it becomes a lot clearer who's who. And yeah, so I just really enjoy this one, and I think it's a great read for like autumn if you want a big chunky book to like read at the weekend or something. So yeah, so this one's great. So then next we have a recent read, and I believe this one comes out at some point in October. I'm filming this in September, but I read an arc, and that is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. So this book is just perfect for autumn, just the whole setting, like the witchy kind of vibes, and the like, I don't know, it's like set in New Salem, and just the kind of, I feel like it's set around autumn time. It just feels very like autumnal and kind of crisp. And we're following these three sisters, the Eastwood sisters, and so we have Juniper, Bella and Agnes. And they all kind of have very different roles. They're almost like mother, maid and crone. So like Juniper's this kind of very free-spirited, like wild character, and she's coming to New Salem for the first time, and she sort of wants to get involved with the suffragettes, but then she sort of has a falling out with the suffragettes because she wants them to use like magic to get their way. So then she sort of starts her own like movement, and her sisters are kind of estranged from her, but then she kind of recruits them to help with this like new movement of these like witches kind of trying to gain power and rights for women. And yeah, and there's sort of these three sisters like coming together again and kind of reconciling their differences and just yeah trying to fight for like women's rights. And there's just kind of this like mysterious like bad guy and who's trying to like foil them, and just the whole like witchy sort of vibes. It's very, and there's like spells, and it just feels very autumny. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's very lyrical and beautiful as well. And yeah, so it's a great book to read. So then next we have Once Upon a River, which I read last autumn, and this is by Diane Setterfield. And this one is very like autumnal as well. I feel like I'm going to say that about 50,000 times in this video. But we're following this kind of village on this river. It's set in Victorian times, I think. There's this girl who like a kind of almost ghost girl who comes out the river, and three different people in the village all kind of claim that she's theirs. Yeah, theirs. So there's this, it causes all this like conflict, and it's very like creepy with terms of the ghosts, and just things keep happening. And it's also quite like melancholy as well, because these characters have all kind of lost someone, and they all sort of have this hope that she's come back, and it's quite like, it's quite emotional, and I don't think I was expecting to like this quite as much as I did, but just the whole like ghosts and the setting like on the river and the kind of misty moor type thing, I really loved. And yeah, obviously the ghosts, I love ghosts, so yeah, and it's very like lyrical as well. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one. And next we have just a kind of like a fantasy series that I feel like is quite autumnal. It's another one similar to the Rune of Kings that I just kind of, the whole vibes, like the kind of mountainy and like the just the sort of magic. It just feels like a perfect series to like cuddle up with like a cup of tea in like the evenings, when the evenings like starting to draw in. And that is Seven Realms by Cindy Williams-Chimer. So I'm a big fan of this series. I'm sure if you've been on my channel a while, you've heard me talk about it. But actually, usually I talk about the second series, but actually I'm going to talk about Seven Realms itself in this one, because I feel like that one is more like set in the fells, and it feels more autumnal, just that whole like setting. It's like the lake. I don't know if I just associate this because we always used to go to the Lake District on October, but it's that kind of setting, and it just feels like that sort of vibes. And so in this one we're following Han and Racer, and Han is like this kind of street lord type character who's like he finds these magical like amulet at the start of the book, and it's like the Demon King's amulet, but then he gets into all sorts of mischief because the like wizards are trying to hunt him down for having this amulet. And then we also follow Racer, who is the princess heir, and she is kind of trying to like navigate court life. And then at one point Racer, I think, has to like run away, and so then she kind of goes in disguise into the city, and then she sort of runs into Han, and Han like helps her out. And then so that's kind of what happens as like the sort of premise. But then the series kind of all kicks off and everything gets very dramatic, and there's all sorts of plot lines, and I feel like Cindy Williams-Chimer is quite underrated. I don't know, I feel like I don't hear loads of people talking about her. I don't know if it's just because she's not as popular now, but I feel like it's really well written, and the whole world is just so well crafted. I just really enjoy it. So yeah, so that's that one. Okay, so the next we have a novella, and that is Silver in the Woods by Emily Tesh. That I might also be making that up, but we'll see. It follows this kind of character who is the guardian of these woods, and the woods are very like spooky and creepy, and there's like, it's almost like the magical woods kind of. I feel like magical wood type stories are very autumny. And then so then this new guy moves into like this manor that's near the woods, and he keeps like he's told like not to go into the woods really, but he keeps going in. And then this other guy is like, what a dippy guy. And then but then they start teaming up and like growing closer. And then there's this other like mysterious character who's like the woods are trying to like, there's like the bad guy, and I think he tries to like kill, he has like a sacrifice every year, maybe not every year, but like, so he's trying to get the new guy that moved in, and then the like guardian guy is trying to defend him. And yeah, it's very atmospheric read. It has a good plot as well, but yeah, just the whole like atmosphere of these woods and the like creepiness, and it's really good. So yeah, I'd highly recommend that. Then on the same theme of like dark island woods type thing, and that is Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. And I feel like this one's quite popular, but I feel like it's perfect for autumn. And we're following these three sisters who have kind of been separated all their lives, and they're in competition for the throne. And when they reach like a certain, I think it's their 16th birthday, they're gonna have to like kill each other, and then the like last one standing becomes queen. But just the whole like atmosphere is so like it's like misty. There's these like magical mists, and on this like island, and like the forests are all around, and then like the powers. So one of the characters is a poisoner, one of the characters is a like naturalist, so they can like get power from like the trees or the animals and stuff, and then one of the characters is like elemental magic. And it just screams autumn really in this book, and it's quite like, it's like almost like, it reads almost like folklore-y type folk tale. I think that's the same with some of the other books I mentioned. So yeah, so I love that one. Okay, and then next we have the Aeronautics Windlass by Jim Butcher. So I don't know why this one like feels like autumny to me. I don't know if it's just the kind of general like vibes, or like I feel like steampunky sometimes feels quite autumnal. Yeah, I really don't know why I put this one down, but I feel like it fits. And so in this one we're following, I don't really know what we're following. We're following this guy, Grim, and he is in charge of like a spaceship. And then they go and you have these like spire things. So it's all set on one of the spires. And they go and then it's all kicking off, and you also following these other, I can't really remember to be honest the plot, and you follow these other characters as well, who are like in school there, and then they sort of get embroiled somehow, and I feel like the this other like political faction is trying to like take over the spire, but everyone's like trying to defend it. And then you also have these like talking cats who are just great. This is my favourite part of the book. Also the audiobook narrator, Ewan Morton, he's really good. But yeah, and these cats, and Raoul, who's the like main cat character, he's just perfect. He's like everything you would imagine a cat to like think and say, and just his kind of general sense of like superiority is great. I also feel like this is like Jim Butcher's least misogynist book. So yeah, I feel like if you're gonna give him a chance, which to be fair, if you're not, then that's fair, especially if you've read Stormfront. Yeah, Raoul is great. And then you also have this other character, this is really random, called Folly, and she is like this kind of, she's like really quirky and weird, and she's like training to be like a magician. She's kind of has this, she's in this like apprentice role, and I just love her character as well. She's so great. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot about the book that I don't know, I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's that one. I think because it's quite like slow and quite like windy, I don't know, it just felt quite autumnal. I think that's why I probably have it here. So then next we have another short novella, and this one is called Burning Roses, and this is quite folklore-y, folk-tale-y, because we're following this character, Rosa, and she's sort of Red Riding Hood almost, and so in the past. But what happened, so she like went to a grandma, and this wolf, so they have these creatures who are like, can like, I think they're like sentient animals basically, and so the wolf kind of killed her grandma, and then she's like out to kill all these like creatures because she's like has a grudge against them. So, and in the book we're following her kind of reflecting back on her past life as she's been killing these creatures, and the kind of regrets that she has now. And then she sort of falls in love with essentially the Beauty character from like Beauty and the Beast, but then as we're following her in the later timeline, she's been separated from her and her child. So then you're sort of like reconciling her past life with, and like what's important to her, and like she's on kind of a journey with her other like companion, and her other companion also has a lot of like regrets, and they're sort of saying like how important family is, and like you shouldn't give that up for the sake of revenge, and also kind of like redemption. And yeah, it's just a great book, and it just feels very like, I think the kind of folklore fairy tale aspects feel very like autumny. So then next we have Margaret Rogerson's books, and that is An Enchantment of Ravens and Sorcery of Thorns, and these ones both feel just very autumnal. I'm going to talk, so in Enchantment of Ravens we're kind of following this character Isabel, and she like paints, and she catches the attention of the Fae for like how well she paints. So she paints this like rook. The rook is the like Prince of Autumn or something, and yeah, and so he kind of takes her away to be her like personal painter, and it's a very like fae and like magical woods and autumny, because the guy's the Prince of Autumn. So, and Rook, oh, he's a himbo and I love him, and yeah, he's like just a big softie. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And then also we have A Sorcery of Thorns, and this one we're following Elizabeth in a library, and the books are like magical in the library, and she kind of, Sorcery of Thorns reminds me a lot of Howl's Moving Castle, and I feel like they're both like really autumny, and just the kind of, yeah, so she goes and she kind of has to team up with this like sorcerer guy, Nathaniel, who is, and he also has his demon Silas, and so they're kind of like Howl and Calcifer, and yeah, and they're just great. And so then they all trying to team up to like solve these mysteries. And yeah, it's just great. So I love both of them, and I would highly recommend them. And the writing's very like atmospheric and like beautiful as well. So yeah. Okay, and then finally we have a graphic novel, and that is TDragon Tapestry by Katie O'Neill. And this book is the whole like colour palette and the drawings and just the kind of tone is just very, very autumnal. I feel like it's probably released at this time of year for that reason. And I cannot wait to get my hands on a physical copy because it was just so beautiful, and it just deals with such important topics, like kind of follows partly like caring for someone who's grieving or who's lost a lot. And I feel like the kind of healer in me just loves like looking after people and that whole storyline and how you can best support someone. And then we're also following this other character who's kind of, she's away from her home and she's in like a new home, and she's like fitting into a new home, but she's also sort of feeling like she's missing her old home. And I feel like it's sort of a very kind of novel of like, well, graphic novel of change and how we can sort of be happy with our new situation but also sort of mourn our old situation. And I think that's a really like beautiful storyline. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this book. It's just I loved it, and the art style is stunning. And yeah, it's like, I wasn't the hugest fan of the TDragon Society because I feel like that was just so short, and I read it online, but I feel like now I'm like obsessed with the TDragons. And the TDragons are so cute. They have these like little dragons that have like leaves, and they have like different ones like chamomile, and watch me buy a chamomile plushie. And yeah, like rhubarb, and yeah, just all of them. So yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the video and got some recommendations, and if you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I hope you're all having a great day, and I will see you next time.